Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies, cultures, races, sexual orientation, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. I'm Twinks Hastings, the Director of Lifespan Religious Education. Happy to be welcoming you to the service this morning with our Worship Associate, John Kilb, and our brand new Interim Minister, Rev. Karen Anderson. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. Masks are now optional in worship, although we do have specific spots that will remain mask required. Please silence your cell phones. We ask that all wear their name tags or fill out a sticker name tag in an effort to be more welcoming. We also welcome and celebrate the noises, movements, and mirth that little ones bring to our service. Are there any visitors today who would like to introduce themselves? We have one. Oh, take the mic. I'm going to bring that mic.
Hello, everyone. My name's Louise, and this is Robin and my husband Jake, and we live in Pennsylvania. And our dear, dear, dear friends Susan and Roger Smith moved up here and left us to be with you. Smile. And we are very fortunate to still be very close with them, and we're here visiting with my family who flew in from the UK, and we leave tomorrow night, but we were so joyful to be able to spend this time with you because we've heard so much about this place. So thanks for having us.
Are there any other visitors that would like to introduce themselves?
My name is Judy Lilly. I'm from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I'm here as my sister just died. I'm sorry. My sister is Joan Bernard, and we miss her. And I would tell you more, but I can't.
Welcome all. If you would like to learn more about First Parish Brewster, please fill out a welcome card found on the back of your pew, and you can place it in the offertory basket. And we just have a couple of community announcements this morning. Our summer program, Snow UU, is gearing up to start in the next week. Yeah. Yesterday, we had an orientation. We have over 50 volunteers from this community helping us out with the program, and yeah. Do you want to put up your hand if you're volunteering at Snow? Amazing. We have 65 children from the community registered for the program, so we're very excited. If you would like to join this band of incredible volunteers, we have a couple of spots that remain open, and you can speak to myself or Laura Gill after the service. And on August 27th at 4 p.m. in the sanctuary, we are going to be having a concert with the Front Street Jazz Band, which is our very own Topper's band. Topper here. And this is a fundraiser for the PMC and the members of the congregation who are riding in it this year, or who rode in it this year. Welcome on this morning, which we make sacred by our presence together. A big welcome to people who are streaming. Wave at them. We are glad you're here too. Welcome to worship. It is so good to be together.
Good morning. My daughter Solveig grew up next to her best friend Julia, and they were thick as thieves through elementary school and middle school and high school. And they were in and out of each other's house, our house, all the time. Now, Julia had a younger brother who had autism and at times could get really worked up about stuff, and sometimes he would run over to our house when he was worked up about things, and he would walk into the house and he'd be kind of agitated, and he just needed to pace a little bit. And then he would come and he would say, "Can I just put my head in your lap?" So we would take our computer off our lap and he'd put his head down, and you didn't touch him really, he just wanted to be able to put his head in your lap. And after that, he would often be better, right? His mom would call up and say, "Hey, is Stephen over there?" We're like, "Yeah, he's here." And then once he calmed down, we'd walk him back over to his house, and as it got older, he would just walk back to his house after a while. Now that happened every now and then, but having a brother like that, for Julia, she needed a place kind of that was a place where she could retreat to every now and then. And our house became that place, right? So after about a year of being there at our house every day, one day she comes in and she just opens the sliding glass door without saying anything or knocking, and she walks in and she goes, "Hey, my peoples! Where are my peoples?" And one of her peoples would come. Either it was Solveig or one of my other kids or Scott and I. Now, she did that for 10 years. My peoples! I've always loved that. I think Julia taught me that children sometimes are so good at finding their tribe, right? Like the place that they come to where they can find comfort, they can recharge themselves. I think that's one of the reasons that we come to church, the exact same reason. Because we come, we know that we can recharge with one another, we know we can be in comfort with one another, we know that we can come here when we have a sin-sick soul. So my friends, I know for a fact that you offer that to one another, and as I'm new, I want to say to you, my people! Welcome to our celebration of life. It is such a privilege to be with you today. Before we sing our first hymn, would you please rise and greet your neighbor?
Good morning. Please remain standing as you are able for the affirmation. We believe in love.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
We believe in truth.
The quest for truth is the sacrament.
We believe in helping others.
And service is our prayer.
We believe in the sacredness of life.
To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine.
When Marcia and I started attending the UU congregation in Springfield, we became fast friends with another couple, Connie and Les. We all sang in the choir, were in the same covenant group, and had other common interests. We were fans of A Prairie Home Companion. And Connie and Les made the annual pilgrimage to see Garrison Keillor's live radio broadcast at Tanglewood in Lenox. We joined them and loved the experience. Sorry, I need a moment. When Connie was diagnosed with metastatic kidney cancer, the prognosis was horrible. She responded by doing her best to continue to live life to the fullest. She wrote her own memorial service and set a goal to see Keillor one more time with us. When we arrived at their home to set out, Connie did not have the strength to get out of bed, yet insisted we go. I carried Connie to our car, and we arrived at Tanglewood. Marcia told an usher of our situation, and Connie was given a place in the front row in her wheelchair with Les by her side. During the show, Garrison Keillor read their names over the airwaves in recognition of their milestone wedding anniversary. She died a few days later. With a little help from her friends, Connie created one more beautiful experience in her life and ours. 14 years later, I remain inspired by Connie's courage and determination. As we light our chalice today, I invite you to recall someone who has inspired you to live a full life in the here and now.
No, I know. It's dinosaur pee. It's dinosaur pee. Yes, I do. Okay, so I just learned about this thing, and it's really cool. And so all of the water molecules on the Earth that we experience are the same water molecules that have been on the Earth since Earth has had water, like billions of years ago. And they never have disappeared. They've never been created or destroyed since they got here. They just get recycled over and over again. And so when you drink a glass of water, you're drinking the same molecules that dinosaurs drank and peed out. So every glass of water is dinosaur pee. It's true.
You know, I'm a bit of a visual learner. Is there any way you can demonstrate?
You know, it's funny you should ask, because I just happened to have these with me today, just by chance. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I brought some ice cubes, which are also dinosaur pee. And we are gonna demonstrate how things change like this because I'm gonna take this ice cube, which is very cold, and I'm gonna add some energy, it's already working, energy from my hands, the heat of my hands, and I'm gonna use it to blow up, oh, that's cold, this balloon, okay? I know. The mysteries of the universe are infinite. So yeah, we have this balloon and it's attached to this bottle. And so we are gonna use this, oh, and some hot water. I also just happened to have. So funny how we have this here. Just, what a coincidence. All right. So I'm gonna add, and then look what happens. So you can see it's already dripping. So what happened to the ice cube? Is the ice cube just going away into nothing? Can anyone tell me? Any of the kids, what happens to the ice? It's melting, you're right, it's changing. But does the ice cube just go away, or what does it turn into? Thank you, Augie. It turns into water. So it changes, right? And then what happens in the kettle when you boil the water? What does the water turn into? Does anybody know? Vapor, steam, absolutely. So watch, we're gonna add this to our, what? Yeah, yeah, watch this, okay? And watch this, whoop. And put that in there. So, but watch the steam too. We have the steam coming off. So that's more water molecules. That was from our ice cube, right? So we changed from an ice cube, and now we have all of these water molecules dissipating into the air. And what happened with the balloon? Does anybody know how that happened? It blew up. So, and then what? So how did the balloon blow up? Does anyone know? I mean, magic, obviously. Yeah, so the hot water, the energy from the hot water blew up the balloon. And it,
Wait, Liz, you're telling me that the ice cube or the dinosaur pee
obviously, yes.
melted,
Thank you.
the ice into the kettle, and then somehow those molecules blew up the balloon?
Yes.
It's almost like everything in our universe has always been here and will always remain here.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Nothing ever gets created or destroyed. It just changes, and you can add energy and take energy away, and it just changes. It's so cool.
Wow. I think we are going to leave this here with the mystery and wonder and awe that is so important in our faith. And we'll say our children into childcare.
Enjoy your dinosaur pee.
This morning's split offering is with Helping Our Women, HOW acronym. With 30 years of service to improve access to health care and wellness for women living with chronic or serious health conditions on the Outer Cape. HOW provides rides to medical and wellness appointments, monthly financial assistance to low-income women, support groups, benefits assistance and advocacy, and one-to-one support for a women's healthcare journey. The website is helpingourwomen.org. Your offering will benefit this organization and the great work of First Parish. Make checks out to FPBUU with split plate on the memo line. Please write a separate check for pledge payments, or you may give to text to give rather, 508-257-7181.
invite you to join with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation, followed by some silence. Would you please get comfortable in your seat and turn inward with me now. Rumi, the great Muslim mystic and poet, wrote this wonderful line. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. All day long, the breeze whispers, leftover tendrils from the early morning hour, reminding you that today is anew, different than yesterday or the tomorrow yet to come. This day is still young, so let it be filled with laughter and love, with affirmations of encouragement for self and others alike. All day long, the breeze whispers remnants left from dawn's first light. You are of worth. You matter. You are a child of the universe, connected stardust out of many, one. All day long, the breeze whispers with wisps of magic from the early morning sun. Here and now is the calling of each hour. Live large with kindness and compassion. Be tender with stranger and friend. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. You are loved and lovable. You always have been and always will be. The breeze at dawn does not lie, so don't, please don't go back to sleep. The silence we have shared continue to hold and heal us all. Amen. Tyson, an American astrophysicist and science communicator. He was once asked this question: what is the most astounding fact you can share with us about the universe? And he said this: the most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable
to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressure. These stars, the high-mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients became part of gas clouds that condensed and collapsed, formed the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets, and those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So, that when I look up at the night sky and I know that yes, we are part of the universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps most importantly, the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact and I look up to the heavens, I know many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big. But I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There's a level of connectivity. There's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected. You want to feel relevant. You want to feel like a participant in the goings-on of activities and events around you. That's precisely what we are, just by being alive. Here ends this morning's reading. I have a good friend, Debbie, that I met in 6th grade at dance camp. Now, Debbie, when she came of age, really, she started her own dance studio outside of Madison, Wisconsin, in a little town called Deerfield. It's kind of in farm country, okay? What's important to remember about this story is this happened at a time when both she and her husband were self-employed and uninsured. So her husband, Bob, went to go have dental surgery, and Debbie went to go get him. This is March, okay? And it's in Wisconsin. Of course, it's snowing in March. So when she went to go get him from this surgery, it took them about half as much, more than half the time that it took to get there. I'm saying that wrong. Double the time. There we go. Okay. I get it. Okay, double the time that it normally would be to get home, right? So she gets Bob home, and he's kind of groggy, but he seems like he's doing okay, and he had said that he was hungry. She sits him down in the mudroom, and she goes into the kitchen to make him some soup. And while she's there, she hears this thud on the ground. And she says, "Bob!" And he doesn't answer her. And he says, "Bob!" He doesn't answer her. So she goes back out into the mudroom. And there is Bob, having dropped the bag on the ground. And he has his chin to his chest. His heart is not beating, and he has no pulse. Bob was 49 at the time. And Debbie told me that within the span of 30 seconds, here are all the things that went through her head. If I call the ambulance now, they're never going to get here in time to be able to help me with all of this. And then, if I call the ambulance, I don't really have enough money to pay for the ambulance on top of that. And if I put him down on the ground, he's all dead weight right now. I don't know how to get him down on the ground without bonking his head. So Debbie said, this is what she did. I'm going to swear right now, so just hold on to your seat, okay? Debbie said she started yelling at Bob. "God damn it, Bob, you are not going to die on me." And she takes her fist and she pounds on his chest 5, 10 times. She knows not how long he does it. And all of a sudden, Bob does this huge breath, and he comes back. She said he started sweating so profusely, like someone had taken a hose over the top of his head, and he was soaking wet, but he was back. He was back and breathing, and his heart was pumping. crazy, tension-filled awe moment as his breath returned him to the living. For the record, I have asked over the years if any physician has ever heard of anything like that happening, and they're all like I don't even believe that story, which is kind of how I felt when I heard it. Now, Debbie said for the next couple of months, right, Bob was like so in love with her for saving her, right? He said over and over again, I love you. She'd get these little gifts and flowers, and it was awesome, she said. She was treated, with like extreme joy and adulation and showered just with this feeling of being a queen. And then she said, as time goes on, about June, everything settled down. And they went back to their regular way of being with each other. Now that that high-pitched volume wasn't so loud, that deafening peace of being attuned to awe, right? So they went back to how they always were to each other, just a couple who loved each other. Been thinking about that story always since I heard it. It's made me believe human beings are all Bobs, all of us. Here's how. That holy cow moment, that's incredible, right? We've all had something in our lives, something that makes us feel, as one author puts it, like we reach a state of rapture, something that offers a radiant energy, something that makes your being absolutely ravished emotionally. Awe. That's intense, right? It is fever-pitched. It is awesome. So we too have those moments where awe pounds life back into us. And yet we do what Bob did after a while, don't we? We go back to our normal routines. We go back to what we know. And awe fades into this resplendent story now told without the emotionally ravaged heart present in the retelling. Now, scientists will tell you there is a name for that. It's called hedonic adaptation, which is the tendency of humans to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events in their life. So we go back to normal. But there's more, right, to this? When you have death right up in your face, so to speak, when you have it for yourself or for someone you love, when you are practically serenading the Grim Reaper or just watch someone you love waltz off with his looming presence, you are immersed, you're rattled, you're reminded of the wonders and mysteries of this life. And there in front of you is this wonderful and terrifying space that we can all inhabit. A liminal space where we reside between wonder and fear, between our wonder at life and our fear of death, where life literally pounds itself back into us. It's the kind of awe that happens when we realize, by the way, that we are the only species on the planet that knows we have limited time and space. That we hold within us a consciousness of the end of our days. And when that consciousness looms large, it can be a jolt to the present, to the gifts of life, to the wonders of everyday, amazing, crazy existence of the here and now. Now, if you can sustain that space for more than a couple days, there's also the awe that often accompanies it, right? It is the consciousness of the expanse of time, of the billions of years in the making of the present, and the breathtakingly prolonged continuum. We are in awe of our little ant lives being a mere microscopic thread in that expanse. How crazy is that, you guys? I mean, come on! And every now and then we can reside in that wonder as sheer players, right, in a cosmic theater. And our heart beats and expands and we are in awe. We are in that liminal space between wonder and fear, but friends, it's exhausting, and here's the rub. We humans often end up tipping more towards the fear side of that liminal space than the wonder side of that liminal space. Mainly because our existential angst starts creeping in. Confronted with such vastness, with timetables hardly comprehensible to our human brains that often really can't remember what we did 2 years ago, much less last week. I'm not sure I could tell you what I did yesterday. Brains that don't often know how to think through the ramifications of an era or a century thoroughly because we ourselves weren't born yet. This crazy continuum of time of billions and millions of years makes us anxious because we can't really process that amount of time. It is what one modern day scientist calls the reality of the existential bummer. And it is from that consciousness that our questions arise, right? Like questions that have thrown human beings into a tailspin in like the whole recordings of time for us. Why are we here? Why does it even matter? We are specks, even less than specks. We are the who's on the speck that live in Whoville, that Horton the elephant can barely hear. But you guys, we are the specks on the speck on the speck. I could like keep going out the door, right? You get the idea. You can feel that liminal space kind of do this, right? I sure can. Further, as my husband Scott regularly likes to remind me, in the end, we are all going to die, die, die! Did you hear me say that? We are going to die. I did, I say to him. Honey, I heard you. The liminal space for my husband Scott is not one he likes to sit in comfortably. He often tips over into the fear side, and he says to us in the family, well, at least any of us that are still willing to hear this ongoing conversation, 20 years plus of this conversation. I mean, whose idea was it anyway to come up with this death stuff? Seriously, couldn't they have thought it through just a little bit more? Really, you have life over here, like happiness, joy, well-being, and consciousness. And then you have death here, the abyss, no consciousness, deadness. What would you pick? Scott is actually hoping that science will come up with something before he dies that will allow his consciousness to remain. And he likes to joke, he doesn't even care if a body is included in the equation. As long as his head is there, he's okay. His plan, I kid you not, is to put that head on a skateboard that we would then, according to him, happily drag around with us like a dog on a leash while he tells us the places to go, like bring him to dinner parties and church and the grocery store. I told him once that when I went to the grocery store, I was not going to drag his head through the aisles, and I would indeed leave him and his skateboard in the trunk. He didn't like that very much. He told me that he'd just yell out at passerbyers, hoping someone would open the trunk so that he could have a conversation with them and explain to them the hardships of living with his family. Over the years of this, by the time he gets to this part of this repetition conversation, I have often left the room and he is yelling to me from the couch about the disparaging comments he'll make about my lack of love and understanding to said stranger at tailgate side. If you have not noticed, Scott is a lover of the poet Dylan Thomas, whose words say, I will not go quietly into that good night, but instead rage against the dying of the light. Yet we all know Scott is not the only one where liminal space is too intense to sustain. There's a great essay, actually, written by Sigmund Freud called On Transience. And in it, he cites this conversation that he had with the poet Rilke as they are walking through this beautiful garden together. At one point, Rilke looks at him and he's got like tears swelling in his eyes, and Freud says to him, "What's wrong? I don't understand. This is a beautiful garden. We're so loving this." And Rilke says to him, "Well, I can't get over the fact that one day all this is going to die. All these trees, all these plants, all this life is going to decay. Everything dissolves in meaninglessness when you think about the fact that impermanence is a real thing." Indeed, Scott isn't the only one that is uncomfortable with that liminal space that holds wonder on one hand and fear on the other, and the undeniable human tendency to lead toward the fear rather than the wonder. And yes, when that liminal space tips toward fear, there is a raging at the light, because all of this is impermanent, right? The pews, the light bulbs, the windows, the building, the neighborhood, us, even the fruit flies in our kitchen, sooner than later. Seems to me that this natural leaning tendency we have towards fear is why religious traditions have sought to answer humans' existential angst for millenniums by promising a heaven, a purgatory, a hell, reincarnation, multiple levels of nirvana, or a paradise with virgins. All of these religious answers, they do indeed soften that fear. They dilute the worry into a balm to remedy an anxious soul. And on the surface, Unitarian Universalism doesn't concern itself with a balm. This is a tradition concerned with living well in this life, in the here and now, rather than worrying about the next. What happens next is anybody's guess. It's not really our concern. And undoubtedly, some of us do believe that there is some form of consciousness that remains after death, but the question of what happens after death is still left up to each of us to discern for ourselves. And as a tradition, we don't appear to give an answer. The fact is, most of the time, we are well and good with the Unitarian Universalist response. That is, until every now and then, that Bob kind of awe comes around and places you in that liminal space between wonder and fear. The kind of awe that would like to respond to the religious answers so we humans can spend our days not raging against the light or caught in debilitating worry. But today, I'm proposing, actually, that we Unitarian Universalists have an answer to calm the cosmic drama, mainly because of personal experience. It has indeed calmed me down through the years. So much so, I can put this kind of awe and understanding in my pocket as a kind of charm, as a reminder, as a blessed reassurance. Ironically, it's something that many religious people might scoff at. And yet I know deeply it's our Unitarian Universalist answer. The answer for us is not faith, but it's science. It is science that bridges the gap from impermanence and indifference to meaning. It is science that reminds us that we are inextricably connected to each other, to the earth, to the planets, to the stars. We always have been, and we always will be. Neil deGrasse Tyson stated in the reading I shared with you, he says, "When I look up in the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of the universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more importantly, both of those facts is the universe is in us." Perhaps another way of saying this is from these words by Aaron Friedman. You want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your sobbing mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy gets created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your mother to know that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU, every wave of every particle that was her beloved child remains in this world. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much all of our energy is given off as heat. There may be a few fanning themselves with their programs, as he says it. And he will tell them that the warmth that flowed through your life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue the heat of our own lives. And you'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith. Indeed, they should not have faith. Let them know that they can measure precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time according to the law of conservation of energy. Not a bit of you is gone. You're just differently ordered. I want to end with this. A couple of years ago, I went to the Natural History Museum in New York City. It's probably my favorite museum. And there I had a pocket awe experience. There is a continuum of time of the cosmos at that museum. It starts at 15 billion years ago with the Big Bang on the second floor. And then you walk through the continuum of time on this enormous ramp that makes it down all the way to the first floor. You have to get almost to a third of the end where the universe is formed, our universe. And then much further along in the oceans, and then further along, and then small life forms, and eventually dinosaurs. And at the very end of it, like the very, very end, there's maybe a half inch of human history. And there I stood wishing I could pull out of that pocket of mine the awe I knew was there. I wanted so badly to have a star in my pocket because it was there where time and space were transcended, and I knew as firmly as I know my name and the exact pace of my daughter's breath while sleeping and the scent of my beloved favorite shirt, that I wasn't just part of the universe. No, indeed, I knew that I had the universe in me. And right there, I wanted to take out of my pocket a star in its small and sticky form and make my mark on that continuum. A representation that I am stardust in my composition, as are all of you. Indeed, it was not an earth-shattering bob awe, but a pocket kind of awe that holds you and keeps you and lets you into that liminal space so that you can reside there just a little longer, a little calmer, a little more assured of your place in the grander theater of life. So all those years, I didn't have a star in my pocket, but today I do, that I take out and carry around with me, a little like star that you used to get when you had piano lessons, you know, and they put the star on. I put it on a piece of paper, I carry it around with me. Sometimes it's in my pocket, sometimes it's in my wallet. On the back of your order service is a little star. If you want to, rip it off later. And I want you to hold on to it and keep it and have it and hold it. I'm hoping that throughout your time on this planet, you will pull out that star and remember you are not just part of the universe, but the universe is in you. And that you will go on with your day with a pocket awe that holds you and heals you. that you are intricately and beautifully here. You are connected to the oneness we all share. Stardust, one and all. Maybe so. Amen.
Let's take the teal hymnal and turn to 1074, Turn the World Around. Please rise in body or spirit. 1074.
Boldness has magic and power and truth in it. May we ever be bold in our living and in our loving. Amen. Amen.
Yeah.